Some designs and thoughts within surfing, they grow and they blossom and they bloom, and then other things come and they sometimes take over it with a bigger momentum, and those thoughts, it's not that they were bad or died, they just maybe got prematurely pruned. So we tried to imagine if you go back and let those branches keep growing, where they would have gone. Yeah, look, I mean, Tom Blake is full legend in what he contributed to surfing and its parts. And the inspiration for the entire project was the depth and how he got to thinking about what he was so passionate about. To me, the way his life was sort of the winding paths which it took that led him to eventually have incredible amounts of time tweaking and refining and crafting these ideas to excellence. Just a fascinating human. The way I tried to approach this project in reference of honoring the history and legacy of surfcraft, which was very important to both Dane and I, and we spoke about this maybe more than anything, I personally was trying to figure out how I could bring that into the heartbeat of this project every time I picked up a tool or approached the craft. Essentially what we set out to do was to embrace the hollow board that Tom designed, take this square-railed hollow construction and take it one step further, imagine where it would have gone, to go back there and just see where it could have gone if we stayed in that track. And for us it was incorporating the bevels, putting the chined rails, big chines, multiple facets, still all square edges within a square railed hollow board. I had to think long and hard about how to build this board because it was big and we started with 15-foot lumber lengths. So building a stage on which to build the board, actually built it upside down and then created it lets you use boat terms, was the bulkheads and the hull, and then flipped it over and put the deck on. Yeah, there's 25 different ways to build this board easier than the way I chose to do it, but one of the reasons I chose to do that because it was fun. You know, using all the tools and keeping things as very much hand tool orientated as I could. That big block plane I used was a gift from my father-in-law. I got that, must have been 10, 12 years ago, and you know, the days you pull that out is a special day. And sharpening one's blades by hand and feeling the efficiency of going the extra length and keeping one's tools honed and keeping one's mind fresh, that's what I've learned from Dane. He keeps his mind alive in surfing, and for me, you know, going the extra mile on the tools does the same thing, and it breeds over into the other things you get to build. The motivation for me was, you know, somebody watching how this board was built. Get some planks, get some hand tools, you know, little block planes, whatever you have. You could build one too. And when you know that Tom's initial vision was to share this design, and they did through the Popular Mechanics magazine, these boards were built around the world by all sorts of people, and you know, who knows what somebody's going to do with these ideas. The small details in the board were fueled by a sense of craftsmanship maybe, but also a essence of simplicity. You know, the tail block, for instance, was plywood offcuts from the project before that happened to be in the corner of the shop. Yeah, that herringbone pattern was, you know, of the traditional times, so it seemed fitting. You just got to play with stuff, put it together, make it look pretty, make it work, make it last. Building something that's repairable and lasts was something we took seriously. So, you know, waterproofing the entire inside of the craft was something that, yeah, took a lot more work, but thinking those things through and executing them with the way it's plumbed and drained so the water finds its way down. I mean, they did that all in these boards. And I was wondering about whether I was going to glass it or not. And then I was thinking about the legacy of how long we want it to be around. So, you know, all epoxy and some really good fiberglass cloth. The brass detail on the deck, I put 2 relief valves in, and the modern SUP release valves, they didn't seem to fit the time period. But I was set out to create something within that sort of old boat look, and I found these old sprinkler heads that I managed to cut down and insert the valve within and put a little brass detail cap on them. It kind of turned out really fun. It was fun to do. Yeah, just, mix matching it was like a mixed medium piece, I guess. This board it took a long time to build, and it would have been very easy to build a square railed one. Not to say what Tom was doing wasn't complicated to a degree, but studying the rocker to the degree that we did, in other words, in real scale in the shaping bay, and really watching it flow, and then adding the chines, which to me was the evolution of this concept. Knowing where the water was going to get focused along the rail line and where the release points were going to be leveraged. In other words, where you were standing and where the board was going to have to let you give a chance to redirect your line and then guide your line. That was going to be very, very evident on every single wave. Staying edge throughout, that was a flavor that we were designing within. Making it controllable was why the facets and bevels were embraced. Promoting control. And I think that worked really well. When you look at the overall rocker of that board with one hard angle, putting in now facets into it, you have lowered your bottom edge. That king band of the tuck under rail, essentially it's got a flatter water line, but it's promoting release. It's added 3 more angles, and I didn't know where they was going to be, but I could clearly tell in the shaping bay where you wanted to change that rocker line. So it's just a harmony between one hard edge and another one being the wall of the rail, the other being the deck or the bottom of the board, but breaking that up a few times in between feels very good on the wave. First question I asked him is, how did it sound? As these boards do, they have a tendency to have a real nice timbre, and he was explaining the ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, so nicely worded. And then you'd get through into a wide open section, and this is where I feel like the chines were letting you change course throughout a ride, and then getting into some clean water and the chop sounds going away, and then they'd pick it up again. Ta-ta-ta. I really thought this board was going to be very, very hard to ride. Just because it's big and it's long and it's narrow, and I mean, hardly a fin. Nope, it was really, really a piece of joy. But as you take off and you feel how she's got your back kind of feeling, you were in this ride together, there was an incredible confidence that was quickly garnered. Very quickly, and then together you rode. I liked that about it. It was a really it was a real dance together.